Hello, welcome to Spy Money. We want to talk about chart templates, how they work, and so forth, and what you do. So, first thing you want to do is go ahead and open up a new chart. So, you go to New and Chart, and then you select your instrument. We'll use ES, and this is your default settings. So, I'm going to come back to this and show you how you can change this to where maybe you want it to open a different way. So, we're going to click OK, and it always opens up on another monitor. So this is our default settings. This is where it will open every time. So let's say that we want to add some indicators. So we want to go in and a good one is Priceline. I like it real well. And so I double click it to put it down here. And I like the Fibonacci pivots. That's a real good one. And I also like my Spybot mover. I'll probably use it more than any of them. I have this is a cross, this is the trigger. We're renaming those so they'll show up differently in the indicator list. Then we have the ATR trailing, and that's if I'm scalping. I'll use that a lot. The mover is what I like the most, and then I have the ribbon. It works very well too, showing when there's consolidation and so forth. And we'll kind of hit those in a bit. But those are probably the three best indicators that I use on my chart. I like those real well. And so we're going to go ahead and apply, and then we're going to save this right there or click OK. And let's say that this is the exact one that we want to use all the time. And we want to stay on 5 minute. And if we come back in, we like the direction of the mover, all the settings are right. So what we would do is come back in and right click, come down to templates, and then we save as default. So if we save that as default, every time we open a chart, this will be here. And then if we go back in the data series, and let's say we wanted it to be a 3 minute. So since we're on a 5 minute now, and we want to open up on a 3 minute, and we'll leave the rest of the stuff the same. So we're going to go ahead and click preset minute, save. Now that is our default. So if we click out of this and X out, then we come back up into new chart, and we go to ES. We click OK. See how it changed to 3 minute? It's no longer 5. Then when we open this, it will automatically have the indicators that we like, and it'll also be the 3 minute chart, so everything's the same. So if you open up another chart, it'll be the same way. So we'll do the same thing. Let's do a different one. Let's remove that one, and then let's go to NQ. So just to show you. So the NQ is working the same way. It's got the same indicators, and it also has the 3 minute. So by doing that, that saves you a lot of time as far as adding the indicators every time. And a lot of people think that once they close this out, the next time they open it, it's going to be there, but it won't unless you do the templates. Once you do the templates, then you're fine. Now let's say that you want a different indicator set up, and say you don't want the mover on there, and you want to come down and maybe you want to add the ribbon. So you add the ribbon down here, and then let's change this to a exponential, and let's just do like a 821. And then we go ahead and apply this. So now we've got this ribbon. So instead of switching back and forth to the charts and reloading indicators, we can go ahead and right click, come down to templates, and we can save as, and we'll call this one ribbon. So that way you have that chart set up. So now let's say you're in here and you want to go back to your default settings. So you right click, go to template, load, and we would go back to our default. So our default's there. Now we decide we want to have the ribbon back. So we come back and we do the ribbon. So this saves a lot of time to go into the indicators and reload everything the way you want. You can just save templates. And maybe you want to have 3 charts open. So if you had 3 charts and you go ahead and duplicate that, which we showed you how to do this in another video. And we'll duplicate that one. And maybe you want to have different indicators up on the same chart, and maybe you want this one to be the mover, which would be the default, and then you want this one to be the ribbon. And let's see what else I got in there. We'll use that one there. So this one's got a lot of different stuff on it. It's just something I had for test. Just to make this a little better, let me delete that one, and I'll delete that one, and then that'll give us this one here. And let's change that one to, we'll change the colors a little bit, just make it a little bit interesting. And bring this one down. We'll do the lime green, and we're going to go ahead and do the color region, so that way it fills it in. So now we're looking at 3 different Spybot indicators. This is the mover, and it works really well. Once you get over the mover, it's usually a long, and when it turns green, it's definitely long. And then this one works, actually, let's do this. That's one thing you can do, is you can double click the top of it, which if I bring that down, if you double click in this gray area, not on the icons, but if you double click it, it'll open up all the way. It maximizes, and then if you come back up and double click again, it'll put it back. So that's a good little thing that you can do, so you don't have to sit there and click on whatever. So if you just want to expand this to see it, it's easier. So on this one, let's go to a 5-minute chart. So a 5-minute chart is showing, green right here, and it's going on up. This showed that it was selling off all day, but as soon as the candles started closing above this, and then it kind of made a lot of range in here in consolidation, then it finally took off. But you can see that the mover was telling you that all along. So, and you can set this mover any amount you want. If I'm scalping, a lot of times I will do a 21 on this, and the scalping would have got you in down here. So if you're scalping it, you want to use a 21 works really well. Using the 21 is a Fibonacci number, and it just takes off. So you can see it kept kind of coming over, but it wasn't changing colors. And then all of a sudden we got a little bit of green right there, and it was saying, warning you that, hey, we're getting ready to take off. And then we come down here, and then it finally pops above, and then this green one, if you would have just got in there based off of this indicator, then you would have made a lot of money. And the same with over here. Once we drop below it, and then as soon as we turn to the magenta, that was a good sign to get in, and you would have made a lot of money there. So this indicator in itself can make you a lot of money, and it's not that much. It's on our website. It's called the Spybot Mover is what it's called, and it works really well. So, and the settings and so forth, you can use whatever settings you want. I don't at the time, but I'll put some basic settings that I use on it that works good for me, like one for scalping, one for long, or whichever. If you're going to go with a 60-minute, you can see that once we crossed over and it turned green, boom. So on this one, you probably would have got in rolling through here. That's 703, and it went all the way up to there, and then it started coming back down. When it starts coming back down and getting below it, it's a good sign to get out. But if you're scalping it, you would go right on up. You probably would have been out here because you got a double top. But if you just stayed in this with the green and got in, you would have been 695, and you would have got out on the first red, would have been right there. So that would have been 862. So that's what, 170 points that you could have got just off of this one trade. And it would have taken out all the noise going to that 60-minute. Let's look at a 15-minute, see what it does. You can see here that you got in at 849. Actually, you probably would have got in sooner. Would have been on this candle here. Let's just say it's there, 849, and then you got out over on this one. When it started coming up and coming over, that's a good sign it's getting ready to reverse. But 849, so call it 50, 37, 38 points that you would have got on this. 38 points is a lot of money, $20 a point. So, the mover actually works really well. So let's get back to this. So we're going to put this one back on a 3 minute because we're looking at the same charts. And you can see the 3 minute here would have picked that up real easy. On this one, we have, let me drop this down a little bit. So we're going to double click again, open it up, and this one works the same way. Well, not the same way, it's a different way. If it's gold, that means stay out of it because it's a lot of consolidation. As you can see, this is just a lot of chop in here. And then all of a sudden it took off, but it wouldn't have got you in until later. Now, it depends on what setting you have this on. And we have this one on an 821 right now, but a real good setting is doing a 510. That one works real well. And that would actually get you in the trades quicker. So the red means a short, the gold means to stay out, and the green means to long. So that's the way the ribbon works. It works real well. You can also do a little bit tighter. If you do, I think I did a 10 and a 5 one time, and it actually looked pretty good. Yeah, that would actually get you in a little bit quicker and longer. So doing those numbers. But I'll put those numbers on there as well. But this one can be bought on the website as well. And then you have the trigger. The trigger works really well too. They all work good. It's just in different ways. They trade different. So on this one, when the candle starts crossing over top, but as soon as it turns green, that means to jump in. So on this one, you would have jumped in here at 831. And you would have stayed in. Once it comes down and gets in the cloud, that's a sign that it might reverse, but not necessarily. When it gets on the other side, you definitely want to be getting out. To give an example would be like here. So we got over top of it here. We would have got in right there. So it's after it gets through the consolidations and starts turning up. Then this one would have got you in at 849. Is where it would have got you in. And then when it started coming up and started coming back down in this cloud, that's a good sign to get out. Our Spybot, we have a Spybot Trigger that will be released here real soon, and it's got entries on like when it crosses here or it turns green, so you can pick the one you want. And then it's also got exits that when it touches this line, it'll exit, or when it closes inside this cloud, it'll exit, or when it touches this line, it'll exit, or when it closes over here, it'll exit. So there's several exits that you can pick. And personally, I kind of like the one where it closes inside the cloud. That's when it touches this line, a lot of times it'll go up and touch and then run up again. And usually when it closes inside the cloud, it does a little better. But when you look back at this, you can see like where it dropped down, it came up, and this one closed right there inside it, and then it closed right there, but then it dropped again. So it does happen. There's also an exit to where it'll enter where the color changes and exit when the color changes. So doing that way, it just depends on how the market is moving. On this particular one, we would have been pulled down here, possibly kept on going, but it actually, where it turned green here, you would have lost money closing here, but over there you would have made a little money. So it depends on what strategy you use. The market moves in mysterious ways, so it's never the same all the time. But when you're looking at your charts and your templates, so you can save this one here, come down to your template, and then you want to save this one. We'll call this one the Spybot Trigger. And then we're going to call this one we called it the ribbon, I think, already, didn't we? Let's see here. Yeah, we already called it the ribbon. And then we've got this one. We'll save this one. This was the default setting. That's what it was saved at. But if you wanted, you could take, say you don't want your Fibonacci on there, or maybe you just want the 3 indicators and that's all, then you can change those. I personally think that you ought to have the Fibonacci and stuff on there, and the reason being is it shows the charts better. And this one, for some reason, we took it off. That's why we took the we took the Fibonacci off on it. So in this one, if we take that one off, then it would just show the indicator only. But I really like the Fibonacci, and I think that when you have that on there, the Fibonacci is probably one of the most valuable tools that you can have, because it shows if it's under the yellow, the pivot, then that's a short. If it's above it, it's a long. So when we went up and tested this pivot the other day, we went up and tested the pivot, and then we pulled down, and then when we come through, when we broke through, that's when I hopped in a long. So I had a long down here, and I made money till we got up to the pivot, and then I sold right at that pivot. And then when it pulled down and then it came up and broke through, I jumped in another long right here and picked up. So I think that right there was $10,200 I made on that, and I think I made $3,200 here if I remember right. So just off of those two, I made money. And based on that, if you'd have traded off of this trigger, the trigger would have got you where you needed to be. Based off of turning green here, you could have just stayed in the trade the whole time, and probably you might have, you probably would have made a little more money, because I was in 40 contracts down here and on SPX. So whenever it did, it went on up. So if we go, well, I can't show you. I can show you the ES. I can't show you SPX, but this is the same thing. So you can see right here is where I got in, and it got above the pivot and it just ran. So that's when I traded. So it must have been right here where I sold on the R1, because it went up and it hit the pivot and then sold, and then I jumped back in when it broke out. So I think I either sold at this one or that one. I can't remember which one I sold at. And I sold at one of these two pivots. It must have been this one, because it was $10,000 there. And then when it came through, and then when we broke through there, I hopped in and just took a quick little run for $3,200 on that. I did 40 contracts on each one. So that's how you use the templates. Those are really good examples, having 3 different indicators on it, and it depends on how you want to look at it. These indicators work very, very well if you know how to use them. I like all 3 in different instances. I think probably my favorite is the mover, because it's less on the screen, and all I need is a line. So when you look at this one, it's got a cloud in it. This one's got the line, and I watch the line with the Fibonacci pivots and so forth, and that's how I know when to get in and get out. So that is the templates. If you have any questions or anything, let me know. It should be self-explanatory, and I think it should help you as far as knowing how to set up NinjaTrade a little bit better using the templates, and how you can utilize those to your advantage. See you on the next video.